Cranes are among the most useful and widely operated equipment in construction, but they can also be the most dangerous. Operating on unstable ground and failing to stabilize and support outriggers properly can cause a crane to tip or overturn. Anytime a crane is involved in an accident, the crane operator and other workers on the site are at risk of serious and often fatal injury. Most serious accidents involving cranes are a result of inadequate planning and unsafe use, leading to instability and overturning. Often, workers think that using outriggers is enough to prevent such accidents, but these workers can be wrong. To help ensure stability, it may also be necessary to use mats, sometimes referred to as pads or blocks, to displace the force exerted by the outriggers. How do mats work and why are they important? Let's take a look at some basic laws of nature. You, like an outrigger on a crane, exert a force on the ground that may be measured in terms of pounds per square inch. If you are walking in the snow, you will sink under your own weight. But if you are on snow skis, the skis help distribute your weight over a larger area, allowing you to stay on the surface. Similarly, a woman wearing spiked high heels exerts a force concentrated in a much smaller area than if she was wearing flat shoes, which distribute her weight over a wider area. The same laws apply to cranes. When outriggers are extended, the ground-bearing pressure generated by the crane on the outriggers is very high. Mats are used to distribute the crane loads and ensure that the ground-bearing capacity is not exceeded. The heavier the crane, the greater the pressure exerted by the outriggers. Therefore, it's important to use larger mats to displace that pressure over a wider area. Also, there may be times when the total weight of the crane and load are transmitted to only one outrigger. This too will affect the size of the mat necessary to support that outrigger. When using cranes on any job site, you can help ensure your safety and the safety of your co-workers by taking proper precautions for stability and support of the equipment. Start by inspecting your work site. Is the ground sloped or unstable? If so, the weight of the crane could cause the ground to give way and the crane to tip over, and you will need to plan accordingly. Use outriggers and adequate mats to support and stabilize the crane on soft terrain or while on a graded surface. Also, use outriggers when the load to be handled at that particular radius exceeds the rated load without outriggers as given by the crane's manufacturer. When using outriggers, make sure they are fully extended and set to remove the machine weight from the wheels. Make sure mats are adequate to distribute the weight on outriggers. Today, some crane manufacturers are using computerized systems to determine how much pressure is being exerted by the outriggers. By checking the readout on these systems, operators can determine, for instance, variations in pressure when the boom is raised or lowered, or changes in pressure that occur when the boom is placed above one outrigger. If you do not have access to a computerized system, it's always best to plan on a worst-case scenario. In general, use larger mats for heavier cranes or when using outriggers on unstable or sloped ground. Make sure mats are strong enough to prevent crushing, are free from defects, and are of sufficient width and length to prevent shifting or toppling under the load. Place mats so they provide firm footing within 1% of grade. To help ensure stability, use mats only under the outer bearing surface of the extended outrigger beams, never under the outrigger beams inside of the outrigger mats. Take special precautions when working around bulkheads or trenches. Avoid placing outriggers on these areas if possible, as the soil may be very unstable. When using cranes, you can never take safety for granted. Operate a crane only if you are trained and authorized to do so. Always follow the manufacturer's operating instructions. Use outriggers and adequate mats to support and stabilize the crane when necessary. When choosing mats, consider the weight of the crane and its load, the radius of the load, and the conditions of the ground. Select a mat size that will adequately distribute the weight of the outriggers and reduce the pounds per square inch of pressure on the ground. Avoid making any assumptions about the stability of your operating surface. Always plan for the worst-case scenario. This is James Drury, reminding you to take care and be safe.